So on the topic of disturbing things, I've also come to realise something else, and it's not sort of related to the video I made on disturbing things I've seen in a man. From men, I mean, as a man. But I have seen other disturbing things, and generally society seems to be heading in this direction where abuse will be normalised, and this isn't even some sort of stretch because I'd point out if it was a stretch. I'd admit when I'm wrong. But it's literally what they're pushing. If you look at the various policies and stuff, like how they try to treat women and minorities, it's a very common theme. Like, it's literally there in writing or not there. So any rights that are there, well, so you have to find them first. But the fact that there's no rights protecting people is actually very demonstrably true in these cases. So people say, for example, voting reform in the UK are going to be going down the alt-right pipeline, essentially. The far-right pipeline, I guess technically all of them. And it's disturbing because, as has been proven both on the internet and in real life, and from criminal convictions, typically these people are child abusers and domestic abusers. And they try to say that it's fine that they can do that, which is extremely disturbing. And I actually did point out in my comments in the last video. Believe it or not, this is not the topic I was going to talk about. I'm just pointing this out as a fact because it's important to know. Know what side you're on, because not a lot of people do, and you're going to be ending up regretting it. So any women out there, any people of colour or other minorities thinking, oh, let's vote reform, let's vote Republican again. Look at what you're fucking supporting. Look at what they're linked to. Like, do some actual research, do some digging around, and you'll find it's not as good as it looks, really. Some things may seem ideal, but again, it's often the fault of greed and corruption, and obviously billionaires at the top of it, very much the perpetrators of it. So, always be careful of that, because it will creep up on you, it will destroy you. That's no exaggeration. That is what will happen because of their policies and what they enforce. So, the topic I actually wanted to talk about wasn't this, as I said, but rather a more controversial topic, but one that's interesting nonetheless. So, the most disturbing thing that the internet doesn't see is simply the fact that these abuse cases go unnoticed, and I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about animals. The disturbing thing is that people will, as I've seen on TikTok actually, that people apparently AI generate shit, but they also get exotic animals in captivity and essentially use them for their own means, like entertainment and stuff. And this is just shitty because they're not really suited for domestication anyway. And even then, like, yeah, you can give an animal a good life, but at a certain point, it's just going to be detrimental and it's going to be harmful to them, which is abusive. It's absurd. But believe it or not, this is only surface level. Like, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Because it gets so much darker and so much worse. There's human rights issues linked to animal rights, and really all of it stems back to animal agriculture and greed. It's all there, basically. And the disturbing thing about this is the fact that people who rescue abused animals, admittedly, like by trespassing, by doing their own investigation, which, by the way, any welfare checks that exist, they have to schedule and they have to obviously let people know in time. Like, it's so broken. There's no such thing as going in there suddenly and suddenly it's like, oh, yep, looks fine. There's no dead chickens, no bleeding chickens, no sow pigs just caged up and not able to see their young, let them move. And that's how corrupt it is. And there are cases where, even after these sort of inspections and going after these sort of, animal, I don't know what it is, animal welfare standards? I don't know, it's like a list of things that you have to do in animal agriculture by law. And it doesn't even list anything ethical. Like free range chickens, for example, I remember looking, they only are allowed like a few square feet of space, which is basically just battery hens. It's battery hens with slightly more space, and that's disturbing as hell. In like, anything involving pigs in the industry, they're putting sow cages and not allowed to move, and they're also forcibly impregnated a lot over and over again, and then their babies grow up and sometimes actually die. I say sometimes, but they suffer. Most of them do. Because their mother can't reach them, they can't be groomed, they can't be cleaned. So if they get injured, they end up dying of infection. A very slow, painful death. And that's just one of the standards that animal agriculture has. That's what they enforce as a practice, that's an animal practice sort of thing. Yeah, so that's bad, but in dairy, there's sometimes even worse things that happen. Obviously, dairy cows have to be female, they are forcibly impregnated, full scale machines until they can't milk anymore. But in that milk, obviously, disgustingly as well, they let out pus and they get infected as well. So you're essentially drinking infected milk whenever you're consuming products. Not drinking, but it could be eating as well because it's in other products. It's just fucking gross. But the other thing is, they get their babies taken away from them and often stored away, like basically away from the mothers. So there's no such thing as a ethical dairy farm either. They go through the suffering over and over again. Their maternal instinct eventually vanishes because they realise there's no point in getting attached. Yeah, imagine that first time when they get taken away, and the second time, and then the third time. Imagine like over their lifespan, they just fucking can't move and they can't see their children. Like, it's just horrific. It's hard not to get emotional about this because it is literally some of the most horrific shit that exists today. And it actually does happen every fucking day to millions of them. It's just dangerous shit as well, like, especially as we don't need animal agriculture. So it's extremely distressing when I look back on this. But I think the crazier thing for me was actually how people are punished for rescuing these animals. It's also disturbing because they're not allowed to essentially rescue animals because reasons. No, they're not allowed to rescue because it's taking a product from that company, even though the animal's on death's door. Like, it literally doesn't matter. And like, not every animal is actually used if they're dead or just abused to death, even from a young age. Like, there's pretty much no use for them. So this defence that, again, there's a use for animals and they need to be exploited, it doesn't really hold up. It's all evil. It's just there to create harm. And it surprises me that the internet doesn't talk about it more because this is like a huge issue. This is like the equivalent of a dog abuse situation, a cow abuse, or even just eating them. Like, holy fuck. And there's massive, like, hypocrisies from people and double standards just from this topic alone. And it's dangerous to really think that way, because it means that you're not that trustworthy and it means you're not consistent. Oftentimes I find that the least honest people are the ones with the most flaws. And so the life lesson I learned in being 28 years old, I can't remember anything from 6 years and before, but still, I've had my lessons in trust and consistency, and yeah, I've learned the hard way. I didn't become vegan until 5 years ago, let alone animal rights activist. I've always sort of believed that animals shouldn't be abused, but that never really occurred to me until I was an adult. So I had knowledge of this, and I didn't realise how important it was. But one of the things that really caught me off guard and terrified me is the fact it is far worse than anything you could ever imagine. And just for the record as well, I'll throw this in there. I've been around disturbing people here and there, just not by choice, just because they're there. And I used to hang out with a group that would post disturbing things, like actual people dying. And yeah, I've seen disturbing things through that, and it did lead me to try and desensitise myself because of being traumatised by it. Yeah, I've never seen a baby die, and I did. I've never seen an old woman die, and I did back then. And I've seen people being shot and killed, and also bodies that have been essentially swept up by the river, and obviously bloated because that's what happens. And then that led me down a rabbit hole to try and get rid of that trauma. Not really, I just more like treat it. And I've seen more disturbing things there. I've seen people with heads cut in half, I've seen stabbings, I've seen like life attacks. There's really disturbing things. There's even like work related deaths, which is something that happens, unfortunately. It's not necessarily because people are dumb, it's just because they don't know better, or it's not a well sort of regulated industry. And also, like, dangerous machinery is just dangerous anyway. Like, that will happen eventually. You never know. Yeah, people make mistakes, that's something that happens. And that's really why I came out of that with empathy rather than apathy, which people commonly expressed. I've even seen people commit suicide, and yeah, I think some of the most harrowing ones actually, probably the 9/11 attacks. Like, thinking about it, there's murders are disturbing, especially when there's so much blood and stuff, and obviously life to lifeless body. But 9/11 stuff, when you think about it, it's just terrifying. Either being on the ground near it, or even just in the roof. I mean, the floors, and they've been left with no choice but to jump. Like, what sort of fucking world is this? So luckily I got out of that habit and started to get therapy and stuff. Started to look after myself a bit more. But this sort of leads on to the other point, which I was going to make. It's more disturbing in animal agriculture, if you could believe it. So when you think about the pain index and how it would feel to be in that situation, it's like 50 times fucking worse. As I said, what I said about the industry practices, it's literally that sort of thing happening on a grand scale. Which myself with hyper empathy, it's like, it's unimaginable pain to my mental health. God, I've had existential crisis over it, because it's like, how the fuck is this even real? How have we just become so evil and greedy as well? That's the other point here. It's one of the things that people won't be able to justify, is greed. Yeah, people try to scapegoat it as well, like saying they're protecting something, but it's so frustrating to look back on because there's a lot of cruelty in the industry. I guess how it stops. It starts the same way just normal household abuse starts. There's vulnerabilities and there's exploitation. And people exploit those vulnerabilities, which causes these massive problems. And it's just so dangerous. People need to know the warning signs of this. It's just like how, essentially, in quote unquote civilized society, we're being viewed as nothing more than working slaves. Like in most countries now, US, UK, Japan, else like China, I guess, technically counts. We're all viewed as like slaves via the government and stuff. In North Korea, that's another one. It's just depressing. But like animals go through so much worse. That's the thing that really gets me about this. It's more disturbing than all these people I've seen die. It's more disturbing than some of the actual animal abuse I've seen, like just towards like dogs and cats. I've seen puppies being burnt alive, and it's fucking horrifying. The sound they make, the fact that they were trying to escape as well. Like you can see someone trying to walk out of it, trying to get away, and then some cunt pushes them with a stick back into the fucking fire. They're being burnt on. Like, what the fuck? It's really horrific stuff, and the fact people are not using consistency to essentially help these poor defenseless animals is just really bad. And the solution, obviously, is to take up a vegan lifestyle. It's not a hard thing to do. Yeah, one of the things that convinced me was Gary Yorsky's The Most Important Speech You'll Ever Hear. And weirdly enough, it set me on my way to social justice as well without realising. I only realised that today. I didn't realise how that was a catalyst for not only being honest, but being more knowledgeable and empathetic towards people, being more careful, and it's such a big deal, to be honest. I owe a lot to Gary Yorsky, of all people, and yeah, but now I know I don't really want to forget because things need to change. That's why it's so disturbing. Yeah, the reason why people break down when they see animals in a truck is because of what they've gone through. It's not necessarily because they're in the truck, it's because you can see what they've gone through. You can see it in their eyes, you make that connection. Then people who haven't done that themselves, which I find really ironic, it's the fucking most cowardly thing you can do, just hiding behind the face of the internet and judge these people, again, behind the face of the internet. The mask, whatever you call it. Until you've been there in real life, and by the way, I haven't, you don't know what it's like. And I don't think I claim to know everything about it, as I haven't been there. I've just taken into account people's stories and how it would feel if I were putting myself in their situation. There's also smells associated with it. I remember locally, actually, I saw a few like slaughter trucks of animals in. It's disturbing. And they actually go through the fucking high street, which is even more disturbing. I don't know why. It's really stupid. But God, it's so dystopian. Like, imagine if that was carrying people. Imagine if that was carrying dogs. Like, people would lose their shit over that. And also, they'll be treated better, so there's a lot less trauma here. And then, like, the sickening thing with people who harass others for trying to stop these trucks and give these animals some kindness, like by giving them water. I don't know if they can give food, I can't remember. But they definitely give the animals water, because if it's dry, they need that. It's going to be exhausting. And also, they don't know what kindness is because of the industry that they're from. Again, refer to the industry practices. That's why people go to these trucks. That's why they host the vigils, and why they do it, is to give animals kindness and see the reality, so you don't forget. So, yeah, I think before you judge, you need to go out there and look into it yourself. Otherwise, you're just a coward and a fucking cunt. Like, go away. You don't have any say in this. You haven't done your least amount of research. You haven't even gained any respect. Like, you won't gain respect until you actually understand what you're criticising and what you're essentially pointing and laughing at. And people generally don't care about a mistake in the comments. Like, they're so used to it, and also like, where's your protein? These really dumbass comments that are so frequent that it might as well just be a bot posting them now. And we'll probably mistake them for bots in AI, because that's just what's happening at the moment. Nobody presents unique arguments to the contrary, and as I've said before, my goalpost for being convinced of eating animals or just being fine with exploiting them is if you can prove that there isn't consciousness in animals, if they can't think and feel or have intelligence, like, it requires justification and evidence. And therefore you can have either without the other. So it's a very mixed sort of thing, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. But you need both to even prove it. So it's not simple. But yeah, until that's proven, I'm not convinced. Like, as far as I know, the whole air escaping the body thing doesn't work. They are, much like dogs, they think and feel. They have emotions, they have memories, they're intelligent to know how to do things and figure out like various things around the house. I've known this personally with having grown up with pets. So it's not simple. It's a very complicated matter. But I have simplified it with putting my goalposts out there. So that's the situation. So I'm hoping this sort of catches on and people realise that this is a really disturbing topic that needs to be discussed. You know, sitting there saying, oh, it's bad that they're abusing animals, I wish it would change. Don't wish it would change, you can fucking act. Like, that's what the vegan lifestyle was there for. You essentially completely reduce your impact to like a tiny percentage of a fraction of what you were doing before by having animal products. And yeah, like, there are cases where you can't avoid it. There are definitely crop deaths. There's more in animal agriculture because they feed those same crops to the animals. But again, doing the least amount of harm is better than doing more harm. Good luck arguing that.